Oh, Cam Newton.
Unless you think Cam is his new boo.
Cam is.
All right, well, that's possible. So here's what's incredible about this statistic. Cam Newton is by far the youngest MVP ever to change teams.
Yeah.
He's only he just turned 31 on May the 11th.
Yeah.
Just 31.
Right.
Well, that's because he won the MVP when he was only 26 years old. Well, that's pretty great, right?
Yeah.
And Cam, by far, has played the fewest games of any of the MVPs to change teams because he's that much younger.
Right.
The next up the list on age, it goes from 31 Cam. The next is 35 Kenny Stabler, who went from, as you know, Oakland to the Oilers. Okay, he was 35. Then let's go 36 Peyton Manning. Then let's go 37 Joe Montana. Then let's go 38 Earl Morrall went to the Dolphins from Baltimore. And then how about let's go 40 Brett Favre. Of course, he had done 1 year with the Jets, but he went Green Bay Jets, and then at age 40 went to Minnesota.
Right.
Okay, so look how much older the 5 previous MVPs were than Cam.
Right.
And how much fresher Cam is than those.
Because they had played so many more years.
That's what I'm saying. But like Brett Favre had played 295 games at that point when he joined the Vikings, and Cam's played 132 games.
Right.
It's more than double. The other way. So I averaged the number of games that the 5 previous MVPs had played is 209 games to Cam's 132.
Right.
And Cam's age is 31. The average age of the other MVPs is 37. Yeah. So they're older guys on their last hurrah, their last stop.
Right.
Okay? Now let's look at their circumstances, shall we?
Right.
Let's go back to the first one, 1972, Earl Morrall. He'd been the MVP back in 68, okay, for Baltimore. He joined a team that had lost to my Cowboys in the previous Super Bowl. So do you have a pretty good shot? Well, guess what you did? You helped them go undefeated. Bob Greasy got hurt after 5 games, but then he came back in the playoffs. But you played a big chunk of games, and you were really good for them. Let's look at Kenny Stabler. What had he done? What had the Oilers done the year before? They were 11-5, and they got to the AFC Championship game in that Mike Renfro controversy game at Pittsburgh, in which he tiptoed across the back line and clearly caught it. It brought in, it detonated the cry for instant replay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had been within a controversial throw of getting to the previous Super Bowl.
Correct.
Okay, so you're pretty great,
Pretty good.
right? Okay. Then let's look at Joe Montana. The Chiefs the year before had been 10-6. They had lost in a wild card game to the Chargers, 17-0. So they weren't great. They had Dave Craig at quarterback, but still, they were 10-6. So you're inheriting a pretty good team.
Right.
Brett Favre's Vikings had been 10-6 with Gus Frerotte at quarterback, lost in a wild card game to the Eagles, but you were already okay. Then let's look at Peyton Manning. Tim Tebow had come out of nowhere at 1-4. That team was dead in the water with Kyle Orton at quarterback. Am I right? And he took it to the division title. They won the AFC West, and they beat Ben Roethlisberger in a home playoff game and advanced all the way to the division round. They got their clocks
ramshackled.
Yeah, they got bum rushed up in New England.
Yes.
But that was Tom Brady and company. And they did a number. They put them right back in their place. But Tebow was sensational that year. There were the makings. There was a good defense that got a lot better as the year started to go on. I will give you that. But at least the seeds were planted of, hey, we can do this.
And look how much better that defense got when they wasn't playing 100 snaps a game because you kept going 3 and out.
You can argue, but they had made the playoffs. So it's not like any of the 5 previous former MVPs had taken over a lousy football team.
Right.
Okay,
Are you trying to say the Patriots are lousy? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think they're below average. We just talked about the defense, and I'm going to remind you, that defense that you said was on a historical pace for the first 8 games of the year, on a fateful Sunday night at midseason, it went to Baltimore and ran into on the way to the MVP, Lamar Jackson, right?
Yes.
And the score was a wipeout. It was, 37-20, I believe, that night?
Jared Stidham must have started that game.
Okay, 37-20 that night. And from that point on, that team fell to 10th in points allowed in the NFL, which is not terrible.
Right.
But it wasn't the same. It wasn't a dominating defense. And it went all the way to the bitter end when it had the 2 seed in its lap, thanks to Tom Brady. because he had driven 60 yards for a touchdown that put them ahead with 3 minutes left, 24-20. So all you have to do is hold them out of the end zone. They can kick a field goal because it won't matter.
No.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, against what was left of that defense that had gotten exposed over the last 8 games, drove his team 75 yards. I want people to let this sink in. 75 yards in 13 plays.